Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to demystify the complex, multi-layered process of building a dynamic, large-scale e-commerce presence. Think about it for a second. You would literally never try to build a massive skyscraper without a detailed architectural plan, right? You need a solid foundation and a really deep understanding of exactly who is going to inhabit that building. Well, building an e-commerce presence is exactly the same thing. It's a massive undertaking akin to building an entirely new information system from the ground up. So today we are going to walk through the exact methodology you need to construct a digital storefront that doesn't just survive, but absolutely thrives.
Right out of the gate, we've got to ask the most critical initial question. Before you even look at a single piece of software or hardware, you have to undergo a real visioning process. Who are your customers? Are they looking for speed and a huge variety of products? Or are they other businesses looking for long-term contracts? And crucially, where is the money? You have to define your business model. How exactly is this digital presence going to generate revenue? Because without answering these foundational market analysis questions, your digital blueprint is basically being drawn in the dark.
And this brings us to a major pitfall: choosing your technology first without actually knowing what problems you're trying to solve. Over the past couple of decades, we've seen an absolute explosion of new software products out there. And I get it. It is incredibly tempting to see a flashy software pitch, buy the product, and then try to reverse engineer it to fit your business. But as our sources clearly highlight, you need a systematic, robust evaluation instead. Identify your requirements first, build your shopping list of functionalities, and then go out and find the software that does that specific job.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover designing your digital blueprint, the system's development lifecycle, choosing hardware and software, and finally, building a mobile presence. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Designing your digital blueprint.
To build a complex system like this, we use an indispensable blueprint called the Systems Development Lifecycle, or SDLC for short. It basically breaks the whole process down into 5 actionable phases. This methodology makes sure you actually understand your business objectives so you can design the right solution. First up, in systems analysis and planning, you identify exactly what your system needs to do. Second, in systems design, you figure out the main components and how they relate to each other. Third, you actually build the system, deciding whether to do it in-house or farm it out. Fourth is testing, and finally, number 5 is implementation.
And looking at this visual, notice how the SDLC is actually a continuous flow. It's a great reminder that testing and implementation are just as critical as the initial build. When you're testing, you aren't just checking to see if the homepage loads. You're doing unit testing on individual program modules, system testing on the site as a whole, and acceptance testing just to verify that your original business objectives are actually being met. And as for implementation, well, that flows directly into our next crucial realization.
Okay, here's a staggering reality check. E-commerce sites are never actually finished. Never. You absolutely must budget heavily for continuous maintenance and optimization. The cost for system maintenance can run anywhere from 50 to 100% of your original development costs every single year. Crazy, right? But think about it. Your digital storefront is always in a state of flux. You're constantly responding to emergency situations, patching bugs, fixing broken links, and enhancing the system to keep up with shifting consumer demands.
Section 2. Choosing hardware and software.
Now let's go gather our building materials. We need to walk through the critical decisions of selecting the right software and hardware. Think of this as choosing the steel beams and the concrete for your digital building. Your merchant service software is the very core of your storefront. It provides the essential functionalities that act as your store aisles and your cash register. At a bare minimum, this platform has to provide 3 things. First, an online catalog to list your products. These are your digital display shelves. Second, a shopping cart system that lets folks select items, review them, and, let's be honest, sometimes abandon them. And third, credit card processing, which has to work seamlessly with the cart to verify funds and debit the customer. Whether you go with a lightweight cloud-based solution or a massive enterprise platform, these 3 are your absolute non-negotiables. But once you have the software picked out, you need the computing muscle to actually run it. Making the wrong hardware choice here is a big deal. It means your site could literally crash on Black Friday. So we've got to talk about scaling. You have to anticipate the number of simultaneous users during those peak periods, the types of files they'll be requesting, and just how much dynamic content your servers have to generate on the fly. If a massive wave of customers hits your store all at the exact same time, how does your architecture stretch to accommodate them?
So how do we solve this puzzle? Well, you can right-size your hardware by scaling vertically with larger processors or scaling horizontally by balancing the load across multiple cheaper servers. Think of vertical scaling like adding more floors to a single skyscraper. You upgrade a server from a single processor to multiple processors. It's pretty straightforward, but it can get incredibly expensive, and you become highly dependent on just a few super powerful machines. Horizontal scaling, on the other hand, is more like building a sprawling campus of smaller buildings. You just add multiple single-processor servers. This uses cheaper hardware, sure, but it requires specialized load-balancing software, which adds some serious management complexity.
Section 3. Building a mobile presence.
Listen, if your digital blueprint doesn't heavily feature mobile today, you are essentially building a brand new storefront in a ghost town. The sheer scale of this is staggering. Mobile commerce was expected to generate roughly $500 billion in retail and travel purchases in the US alone back in 2022. The smartphone is now this always-present shopping tool. People are shopping anywhere, everywhere, and all the time, right in between texting, watching videos, and listening to music. The scale of this market means mobile is definitely no longer an afterthought. For a lot of businesses, it's their primary revenue driver.
Here's the catch, though. This multi-screen environment is fiercely competitive. Why? Because consumers spend the vast majority of their mobile time inside apps, yet they only use about 20 to 45 different apps a month. Think about what that actually means for you as a digital builder. Users are spending over 80% of their mobile minutes inside native applications, rather than browsing around the mobile web. But their attention is highly guarded. If they only use a few dozen apps a month, you've got to fight incredibly hard to earn a coveted spot on their home screen.
Because of this, you have to choose your app ecosystem really carefully. Let's break it down. A mobile web app operates in the device's browser. It's way cheaper to build, and it kind of mimics an app experience, but it totally relies on your connection speed. Then you have the native app. This is programmed specifically for Apple's iOS or Google's Android. It runs lightning fast and can even operate offline. But it's the most expensive route, since you have to create entirely separate versions for different devices. And finally, there's the hybrid app. This runs inside a native container but uses standard web technologies at its core. It's often a really great middle ground.
To succeed in this space, a lot of developers adopt a mobile-first philosophy. This forces designers to focus on a really lean, efficient experience before they ever scale up to a big desktop screen. Actually, let's look at the old way, taking a massive, complicated desktop site and aggressively trying to shrink it down to fit a smartphone. That just doesn't work. So, you flip the script. You design for the absolute smallest screen and the slowest connection speeds first. This forces you to prioritize what functionality is truly necessary. Once you have that pristine, efficient mobile design, you then progressively enhance it, adding features back in for the desktop version.
Now, when you're adapting your site across all these multiple screens, you generally have to choose between RWD and AWD. Responsive Web Design, or RWD, uses the exact same HTML for every single device. It relies on flexible grids, so the site physically adjusts its layout to the screen automatically. But a responsive site still carries all the heavy background code of a desktop site, which can make it load pretty slowly on a phone. Adaptive Web Design, or AWD, solves this. The server actually detects if the user is on a phone, a tablet, or a desktop, and then it loads a specifically optimized, predefined template just for that specific device. This creates a much faster and more tailored user experience.
So, as you take all these concepts back to your own projects, ask yourself, is your digital business truly future-proof? Or does your blueprint need an immediate update? We've seen today that the systems development lifecycle never really ends, does it? Consumer demands are going to shift, your hardware will need to scale up or out, and the mobile landscape is just going to keep evolving into crazy new multi-screen realities. Building your e-commerce blueprint isn't a one-and-done project. It is a living, breathing architectural process. So take a hard look at your own digital storefront today. Is it built to scale horizontally and vertically? Is it truly mobile first? Keep asking these questions, keep optimizing, and I will see you in the next explainer